Hey there, and welcome to Workforce Pulse, the podcast for recruitment and staffing founders who are ready to grow, scale, and shake up the industry. I'm your host, Kirutika Munusamy, and I'm so glad that you're here. This is where we have real, no-nonsense conversation about what it takes to build a thriving business in recruitment and staffing. Forget the fluff. We're all about the strategies that actually work, shared by the people who've been there and done it. A quick shout out to our sponsor, Ambrosial Automations. At Ambrosial Automations, we are kind of your behind-the-scene partner for growth. We help recruitment and staffing businesses streamline their operation, bring in quality leads, boost sales, and scale, all without the risky upfront costs. We work on revenue share model, so we don't succeed unless you do. If you're curious about how it works, head over to ambrosialautomations.com for a free 12-month growth plan that's tailored just for you. All right, let's dive in. Today on Workforce Pulse, we are thrilled to welcome Joe Lord, the VP of Sales at Turner Staffing Group. With over a decade of experience in the mining and earth-moving industries, Joe has played a pivotal role in connecting top talent with leading companies in mining, construction, and civil infrastructure. Prior to joining Turner Staffing Group, he managed North American sales for a major manufacturing firm, gaining an invaluable insight into workforce solutions and industry growth. So, welcome to the show, Joe.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Joe, tell us more about yourself, your background, and the role within Turner Staffing Group.
Yep. So I got into staffing pretty early in my career. I was a degreed accountant from a Wisconsin university. And it was 2008, pretty bad time to be a brand new accountant into the industry here in the U.S. With the recession that was going on. So I was a cost accountant for a little bit and kind of I got recruited to be a recruiter for finance and accounting teams for a very large staffing firm, very general staffing firm in Phoenix, Arizona. And I really enjoyed it, got into kind of the sales side or customer development side. This is, many years ago, and opened up a branch of it in another state in the United States with a partner more in the commercial industrial side of business. So started a little tiny staffing firm, grew it. I think we had probably 4 or 5 times the head count by the time I had left, and got into manufacturing for basically mining equipment and mining equipment accessories. So I had been doing that the last 11 years. So I had a little bit of staffing background and was approached by Turner Staffing Group actually about this time last year to kind of get into the staffing side. And how I landed here was really being in the mines as a younger individual in a historically, very mature workforce. There was a huge gap from my age of person, and this is even 10 years ago, to, the mining and, really heavy construction individuals. And as they are retiring, there really wasn't the workforce to back them up. So I had been watching this unfold for the last 10 years in this huge employment gap in the heavy industrial kind of trades, I guess you could call it, more particular to mining. But basically, Turner Staffing Group is a company derived from Turner Mining Group, who I had followed for the last 6 or 7 years. Keaton Turner, very incredible entrepreneurial spirit, young guy who has, kind of blown the mining industry out of the water. So I'd been following him, and they pivoted into staffing, and it was a very unique opportunity for me to have my mining background and staffing background to kind of help push the industry into a more sound kind of hiring or more just a better state of hiring in general. So, not only for Turner Staffing Group are we looking to build, our team, but really bring awareness to the culture and the industry itself. So it can be sustaining for the next 100 years.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. You were like the right man at the right place kind of situation.
Yes, 100%. I was very fortunate. Great team, but really interesting to get back into it and kind of see the new trends and how everything is different from when I did staffing back in, the mid 2000s. So,
that's exciting. So, in a nutshell, what does Turner Staffing do?
Yep. So Turner Staffing Group is basically a full force staffing firm for mining, construction, AEC, pretty much any blue collar type of work. So we specialize, obviously, we're a mining company that pivoted into staffing because of just the robust recruiting team and the robust recruiting programs that we put in place to support our hundreds and hundreds of workers across the US. We've kind of brought that along with the incredible amount of like incoming talent that we have, created because of our brand and the awareness that we're making. We're able to kind of peel from our giant pipeline. So what we do is basically offer full-time, contract workers. We do contract to hire and direct placements, all in that, blue collar, heavy trade, industrial space. So
Got it. Got it. So, are there any big trends that you're seeing in the industry right now?
yeah, I mean, in the industry in general. So let's talk about just staffing, from what I see right now, and this, hopefully somebody gets some value out of this, but from when I did staffing, let's say 15 years ago, it was very face-to-face, very meetings and handshakes and breakfasts and lunch. Not that any of that isn't useful now, but there was no social media being used. There was no, email was even then really just being introduced and, being able to email blast and reach people at a very large volume, where today it is completely different. So it gets on, kind of my first topic, the AI, and the automation in hiring and utilizing social medias and those different avenues, these tools for not only, sourcing candidates, but matching candidates, recruiters really have to get up to speed with the technology out there, much like what you guys are doing. But that's a huge trend that is moving into, AI and, these giant robust systems to just aid you. You still have to have, you have to be trustworthy. You have to be good in person to, make people trust you and your product and your brand, and things like that. But that's one trend I see is just the technology. Another one is, kind of the rise of contingent workforce. From when I was in staffing, it was really heavy on the contract to hire, direct placement type of work. And that was smaller companies, even to the $7 billion company I was working for back then. But they're doing that because it's more flexible and, there really is a giant cost savings into having, contracted workers. But it creates an issue of, these staffing firms being able to support a pipeline of these types of individuals who will be on a long-term contract and being able to sell that and finding the right individual who's going to be reliable and qualified to do a long-term contract position. So that's all of staffing, I feel. And then, a few other things, focusing on the employee experience. It is so different back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, after kind of the recession dropped in 2008, 2009. I mean, it was a different working culture. You had a job and you kept that job and you were loyal to that job because it could be gone tomorrow. That's how we grew up out of college, out of, or just out of basically any school that you were in. Today it's a lot more choice and a lot more kind of free spirit in folks looking for work, and we're all on our cell phones. There's a lot more opportunity. There's a lot more ways to find jobs. So people are seeing a lot more unique opportunities that might better interest them. So, being transparent with pay and, making sure that you're both comfortable before moving in on a position, the work-life balance in general, the work-life blur of, making it all kind of work together for your family schedule, and upskilling opportunities. A huge thing right now is, okay, great. I know I can do this job. I'm going to walk in day one. How long am I going to do it? What are the next steps, for me to want to be here long-term? So that employee experience has been huge. I'm also seeing, kind of a skills-based hiring, as opposed to really just degreed individuals, or they have this, kind of, this pedigree coming into this particular job interview or whatever it is. We're seeing a lot more of the just skills-based hiring. And what I mean by that, it's pretty obvious, but they're hiring off of skill sets and what you can do to come in and be efficient and, be an impact for our company to do the work today, which means increased production today. We're missing a spot in our organization, and we need somebody to really jump in, hit the ground running. Not that they're not willing by any means to hire somebody who is fully degreed in that, but for more technical positions, even entry-level positions, like having a skill set, even in a different industry coming over, they're able to get somebody moving a lot quicker, just with the, almost the culturistic, mentality of the job that they're going to be doing. So seeing that, and then, the two more, like the demand for specialized talent, huge. Staffing firms have been around a long time. It is very competitive. It is very cutthroat, but a lot of the historic staffing firms have gotten so big that they're so generalized that, it's almost kind of hurting them in terms of taking on so much business that they might not be able to support that particular industry or small, unique skill set that they really have to focus on. So, in doing that, they might not know the culture of the industry they're getting into, heavy industrial, construction, technological, geography, whatever it could be. Having a specialized staffing firm is going to have a cutting edge moving forward, because quite frankly, a lot of companies are sick of getting burned by staffing firms who can't support them with large promises, because nobody's doing anything different. They're not, taking a risk and specializing something and being, kind of the pro at it. So I think that will definitely be a trend that more of these firms branch off to be, become a little bit more specialized. And, that's kind of unique where we're at with Turner Mining and Turner Staffing Group, is that, Keaton has created a brand, and, he believes in people, and, we follow our core values to the heart. And in doing that, he's created a business that brings, 26,000 plus applicants a year for 2024 to us. And, we can only, support a small majority of that. So it's pretty interesting to see what, somebody specialized could do. So.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's very important to find that perfect match culturally, according to the company's culture, mission, and vision. So not every candidate or not every recruitment company would be fit to do such specialized hiring. So that's where you guys shine for mining, especially for mining and all the dirt work industries like you were mentioning before.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, what challenges are you seeing, as in the big challenges for 2025 or the 2 years to come from now?
Yeah, so a few challenges, one in particular, very broad challenge that I would venture to guess is a challenge. It's for really every industry who hasn't kind of gotten on board yet. And it's really it's kind of like the industry awareness. So a lot of the companies out there who are having hiring issues, or, they need to reach out to recruiting firms to assist for bigger projects or whatever the case is being, they're not really doing a whole lot to make the industry sexy or, make that job interesting, or, what are they doing to create awareness of why somebody coming into the workforce for the years to come, going through all of their schooling, why are they going to choose this industry? Why are they going to choose my company? And why are they going to choose this position over everything else that anybody, when we are born and go through school to decide what we want to do in our life, in line with our personality or whatever it could be, we've really seen that there's a huge gap in, just the industry awareness, generally. And I'll speak on mining side, mining companies, really construction, dirt work, trades jobs. There's going to be a huge gap, just in general, because there was an old school kind of mentality, historic, like you get into the trades, right now today, it's viewed as, dirty or very hard work. You're grinding all day, low pay. In reality, it's the complete opposite. They are incredibly well-paying jobs. There is so much opportunity to move up and over and starting new business. And, they're not dirty jobs. It's some of the most stringent safety measures ever are, in mining and heavy civil construction. So, how do we showcase that to make it attractive for people coming in? So challenges for us is industry awareness and making things look appealing to be able to attract talent. And that's something that we've done really well the last 6-7 years. Probably, I would venture to guess, probably the best in the country for the U.S. To whereas we have built a giant pipeline of people that want to wear the Turner badge because they know that we're safe and they know, that we're reliable and doing, good work. And there's a lot of opportunity in it. So we're very transparent about that with our company. So that was one challenge. We've overcome it using social media, almost, not entirely, but a huge part of overcoming that challenge is getting into the social space and really being dedicated and consistent about doing it and showing cool pictures. What's the most fun part of your job? How do you express that with somebody? So, a 12-year-old right now slowly sees that to when they graduate to get into the workforce, they're coming to work for you. So that's something we've done. Qualified, reliable contract employees. It's a huge challenge to overcome. We are constantly doing it, but you have to pivot. Something that we've done, again, kind of ties into the industry awareness. We've created a strong brand that, people trust, and we live our values, and everybody who works with Turner Staffing or Mining Group as a client or a candidate feels that. They know us personally. They get follow-up. We are not going to lie to them about jobs that they're getting into. We talk them out of positions before they get into it. But finding those reliable contract employees is going to be a giant issue moving forward, because it's going to become, for these types of positions, especially in our space, it'll become very, very competitive, where I think they'll oversell positions to get, kind of people in the door, and those people won't work. And essentially that's going to end up hurting their reputation in the market, So that's something we try very hard, spend a lot of time and resource on the follow-up and, kind of that employee experience to keep contract employees on a job for as long as we need them. So, and then the last thing I would say for a challenge was just finding out how to have a good national pipeline. There's a lot of global staffing firms. There's a lot of regional staffing firms, cities, states, countries. We focus primarily in the U.S. right now, and building that national pipeline was really only possible by being as specialized as we are. We're a mining company. We have a lot of deep-rooted relationships, with sites and different companies and contractors. And we've slowly built this giant national pipeline that really, quite frankly, nobody else has, access to except for us in the space. So, I'd urge anybody to really start to focus on how you build that to be different from your competitors that are also national, but they do not have the depth, that a truly specialized firm would have. So,
Got it. I mean, that was a pretty good explanation of the challenges that you guys see in your industry. So probably, it's important to share all these things so that somebody on the same line can see these as solutions and move forward. So other than these challenges that you mentioned, do you see any big initiatives coming in for Turner Staffing Group in this year, probably 2025?
Yeah. So generally speaking, I mean, for us personally, we have had the opportunity to kind of expand into like the utilities, giant utilities, still very much trade driven opportunities, but expanding, I should say, not necessarily just out of the mining space. We will always be in mining. It's where our heart is. But, then there was heavy civil construction. And now we're really, kind of focused in building teams internally around utilities and, basically other trade jobs, giant electrical contractors and, pipe fitting and different industry positions with similar cultures and similar pipeline of candidates where, they can kind of, if they don't like electrical, they can get into something else, or they don't like mining trade, they can get into utility trades, or there's so many different opportunities for the same skill sets that, we're really trying to kind of connect all those dots. And we've been really successful in doing it. So that's been kind of one of our big initiatives. I'd say another one, like always, and I'll keep going back to this, but really building awareness and trust in mining and in heavy civil and trades positions to get the next level of workforce coming up into this a chance to like want to do this when they grow up. Because that's, I think across the world, I think we're all feeling those types of trade positions, being, needed pretty heavily. So that's kind of one of our giant purposes, to be impactful in the industry outside of our day-to-day business. So.
Got it. And what would you say are Turner Staffing Group's vision for the next 2 to 5 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, making life a better backbone for America, especially here until we expand, internationally, just continuing to do what we do to support the 10,000 baby boomers that are retiring every day here in the U.S., who is backfilling those positions, especially, in this blue collar and, heavy trades work. So, that's one. And then, basically doubling our headcount every year. I mean, we are very strategic and we want to grow as much as we can impactfully. And, strategically, I'll say that again, because a lot of growth, creates a lot of headaches, and being able to support that, especially as a staffing firm, there's a lot of moving parts, but doing it so that, our reach continues and, our customers are still getting, the benefits that they get and the value out of utilizing Turner Staffing Group, and our candidates are happy. They have a great candidate experience, with all our growth, but the more growth we have, the more people we're putting to work, the more people that are working in the trades and, kind of the backbone of America. So that's really our, kind of vision and goal for the next 3 years. So.
Great. So I would say it was a pretty good session. I guess people would have gotten a lot of knowledge or awareness, like you said, into the mining and dirt industries and how you do staffing and recruitment for such industries as well, and the challenges and opportunities that a big firm like Turner Group's staffing group is seeing. So I guess that was a pretty great session. That was very.
Well, I appreciate it. No, that was awesome. Wonderful questions. I really hope somebody can grab some value from this, because we're all in it together. Regardless. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's a wrap for today's episode of Workforce Pulse. Huge thanks to our guest Joe and for sharing all his incredible insights on mining and recruitment industry, staffing industries. Now, before we go, Joe, where can people find you if they want to connect or learn more about your work?
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I love hearing from, people looking for work, people looking to, for headcount, just Joe Lord at Turner Staffing Group. But, you can check out our website. We have all of our jobs posted. There's a great area for, clients to come in, or people looking for workers, or, help to go in there and navigate. But it'll end up on my desk. My email address is joe.lord@turnerstaffing.com, and our website is turnerstaffing.com. So pretty simple. Reach out. You'll get me on the phone every single time. So I look forward to hearing from anybody.
Perfect. So make sure you follow Joe on LinkedIn and check out Turner Staffing's website. To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And one more time, if you're stuck in the grind of manual processes or struggling to grow, we can help you optimize operations, bring in leads that convert, boost sales, and scale without the upfront risk. Head over to ambrosialautomations.com to get your free custom 12-month growth plan. All right, that's it for today. Thanks again, Joe, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Let's build, grow, and keep the workforce pulse alive. See you next time.
All right, take care.